Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Bolt Action Reloading. In today's video, we're going to do some more load development with our Savage 110 BA Stealth Chamberlain 338 Lapua Magnum. Today we're going big or going home with our Hornady 285 grain ELD match, loaded behind Alliant Reloder 26. Stick around. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here and you'd like to see how I and the rest of you here make our group smaller, start now by subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon. That way you'll get notified when I post next week's video and you won't miss anything. Our test platform today is again our Savage 110 BA Stealth Chamberlain 338 Lapua Magnum. It's very close to its factory condition. We have changed the stock out to a Magpul PRS stock. The scope we're using is an SWFA fixed 20 power scope, mil. It's currently wearing 30mm SWFA rings, as well as an SWFA bubble level. We're still utilizing its factory trigger and reducing its recoil with that factory muzzle brake. At this point in our project, we've tested some initial loads, we've done some velocity curves with different powders and projectiles, and after we get done with today's velocity and pressure test, we're going to get more serious, really trying to narrow down some good groups. That being said, if you'd like to catch up with the whole series, I'll put a card up and you can go check out the series from the first video, but feel free to stick around now and see how things go today. In today's video, primarily, again, we're looking for pressure and velocity curves with our 285 ELD-M loaded behind Alliant Reloder 26. What we're really looking for is what velocity that we can actually achieve. Make sure we don't have any pressure signs along the way. And we're really doing this in Saturday load style development. 10 rounds, 10 different velocities. See if we can find any pressure nodes where we might want to explore when we get down to serious load development. Talking about our source for load data today is the actual Hornady manual itself. It's their projectile, and today it's their load data. According to the Hornady manual, 86.4 grains of our loader 26 is going to give us 2,700 feet per second, using a cartridge overall length of 3.65 inches. Slight differences, they have a 27-inch barrel. This is a 24-inch barreled rifle. They're, of course, because they're Hornady, using Hornady Brass and using Fed 215 primers. The load data which we'll actually be using today is once fired Lapua Brass. It's been annealed, full-length sized, and the neck tension has been set to 2/1000 with our Sinclair expander mandrel. The part number for this Hornady 285 ELD-M is 33381. The primer that we will actually be using for today's test is the CCI 250 Large Rifle Magnum Primer. We've had some reasonable luck with these in the past and hoping to have good luck today as well. Backing it down to make sure we don't start too high, we're going to actually be starting at 82 grains of Alliant Reloder 26, going all the way to 86.5 grains actually, so a tenth over max, going in 0.5 grain increments. The cartridge overall length that we'll be loading is 3.665 inches, just like they recommend. The CBTO for that is 2.865 inches. The distance of the lands is going to be just under 100 thousandths. The shooting conditions for today's test is 53 degrees Fahrenheit, 28.52 inches of mercury, 84% relative humidity, so the density altitude will be 1,372 feet. If you've been following this series, you guys will know that I've had one more problem with the scope base loosening up, but I am not going to make that excuse today because I actually found it before I shot this particular string. Not going to say that it didn't, again, loosen up slightly before I got it. We're going to get this figured out and we're going to do another video on it separately. For now, I have the torque wrench with me. We retorqued everything when we were at the range and shot this last group. Hopefully the group you see today will be representative of the reasonable accuracy that we should expect to see. But you guys be the judge. We'll talk about it after we get back from the range. What a difference it makes when your scope base is actually properly torqued down to the action. Certainly not a group I'm embarrassed to show. The actual group side measured out to be just under an MOA at 0.931 MOA for that 10-shot group. Nothing to sneeze at in my opinion, but draw your own conclusions. What we're honestly here for today though was more our velocity graph and make sure we're not hitting any pressure. So let's take a look at the graph. First look, it's really not super easy to see any nodes on this particular graph. You can see starting off at 82 grains, we only hit 2579 feet per second. At our max charge of 86.5, we did creep up to its to Hornady's book velocity of just over 2,700 feet per second. We are a tenth over their max at 2,700, so I'm certainly not going to complain with the results following almost identical to what the book predicted. We do have 3 inches less of barrel we're working with. Talking about nodes for a second, you can see from 82 to 82.5, only an extreme spread of 1. Not really the velocity we're looking for, unfortunately, there. Moving up a little bit to 83.5 and 84. Between those two, there is only a 5 foot per second difference, so it might be interesting to explore that range. 26.25 isn't necessarily too bad for this rifle. Moving up just a little bit higher, if you go up to 85.5 and 86, the extreme spread between those two rounds is only 10. So it might be worth our time just to see if there's a velocity node somewhere in that area with this projectile and look to load there. Seeing as we're still 100 thousandths off the lands, it might be helpful to perform this test with a little bit longer, see if we get lucky and there might be any more pronounced velocity nodes. But I'm sure, as well as this projectile shot, and with that monstrous ballistic coefficient of 0.778, in the long run it might not be our best option, but it's certainly going to be one that we look at. And finally, shooting under an MOA, really nothing to complain about there either. But let's take a look at our brass, make sure we didn't hit any pressure. Stepping through our brass, starting at the 82 grain load all the way to 86.5, you can see no real significant pressure signs, anything that's real significant. Put to the side a piece of the factory Herder's 250 grain Sierra Match King factory brass. Obviously it's a different primer, but certainly more flattened than any of these loads are for today. No real heavy boat lift or anything like that gave us any problems. Just that little shine around the primer that seems to be consistent with what we're getting with every round in this rifle. But as always, love to hear anything you think in the comment section below. Guys, certainly this is going to be one that we're going to do some more load work up with. They are slightly expensive, coming only in boxes of 50, but with performance like that, who's to argue? We're certainly going to have to take a look and see what we can get, at least around the 85.5 to 86 grain load. It would really be great to see if we can find some good accuracy and lower standard deviations at that higher velocity. But even if you're not reloading for 338 Lapua Magnum, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in the comment section below. If you want to keep up with this series, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you get notified when I post next week's video. I hope to see you then, and until next week, stay safe in small groups.